So a couple of times in the last few months, we've had a seller that wants to void the contract. They get tired of not getting what they want, or they've changed their mind and they want to avoid the contract. And so we kind of get into a situation here where the contract does not make it real clear for people to void on the seller side. Most of this voiding is done on by the buyer. The seller, by listing the property, is really already saying to the marketplace, I'm going to sell. Um, but there are a few cases where the seller can void. I'm going to go through them. If you got any questions, obviously just pop in here real quick. The first one is where they can void is if the EMD has not been turned in by the deadline, the seller can send a notice to void. Um, and that's the only thing a seller can do when the EMD check has not been turned in. They can't, sue them for anything. They can't go after them in some other way. They can't penalize them. They can just say, okay, well, here's the void. So when a buyer's not turning that in, that's the risk they're taking, that they could have the contract pulled out from underneath them. Secondly, they may call on the buyer to remove the financing contingency or void. So they're not really voiding, but they can call on it to be voided. And this is in Northern Virginia contract. Hey, if you don't remove this financing contingency by this deadline that you gave me, you now have 3 days or you must void. Still calling on the buyer to void, not voiding themselves. But in Maryland, just so those who are in Maryland understand, the seller can void. It's the 15th of the month. That's our deadline. It's now the 16th. I'm voiding the contract. So the seller can void based on the financing contingency. Another one is in the contingency and clauses form within VAR, where the seller has a home of choice clause. And this is where I'll sell my house, but I got to find one to replace it. And if I can't find one, then I can void. So that's another place where the seller can void. Any questions on any of this? I've made it so clear. Have you had other things come up where the seller tried to void? None? Okay, this is going to be a really short call, I can tell. All right. All right. So then this is interesting as I'm looking through the contract. There are times when the contract becomes void. It's like it self-destructs. Um, so what I mean by that is that if certain things are not put into place, then the contract becomes void. It's usually voided in and of itself by a missed deadline or a disagreement. The first one that comes up in the financing contingency, and this is in all three or four of the contingencies we use. If we can't come to a lender says these items have to be fixed. Um, you know, there's a bad drywall in the basement. It must be replaced. Buyer says, no, I'm not going to replace that. You replace it. Seller says, I'm not replacing it. When you reach an impasse, the contract becomes void. I would submit you still want to submit a voiding to one of the parties there, but it just says the contract becomes void. So by that missed deadline, that's what's going on. Another one, if the sale of the buyer's home contingency is not removed by the deadline, it so this is a what triggers the voiding. The trigger of the voiding is that you didn't remove it. So if it's not removed by this deadline, the contract becomes void. Okay. If you're a backup contract and the primary contract settles, obviously the backup becomes void. But they had to put it in writing because it sounds like somebody tried to enforce their backup contract at some point when they closed on the property. I still have a contract. No, you don't. That's really it. I know it's pretty short, but that's all I got on how a seller can void. We're in one right now where the seller wanted to move things around, and since she's not getting her way, she wants to void the contract. And so in 30 years, it's like my second case that we're literally facing a potential of suing for specific performance. The sellers just changed their mind, and it's about a date of when they want to sell it. And she says, I don't want to settle that date. It's not good for me financially, but she already ratified. And so it's been ratified for 3 weeks, and now she wants to void it, but she can't. So we're having to bring attorneys in and say, I appreciate you want to void, but you can't. And also if a seller dies, that does not void the contract. Whereas when a buyer dies, that does void the contract. If the buyer that's remaining can't move forward because they can't afford the mortgage. But that's pretty much it as far as voiding a contract on the seller perspective. There's plenty of other ways that a buyer can void, but on the seller side, that's about it. Anything else? Yeah. That's what I got
Anthony, are you representing the buyer on where the
on
seller
that
wants to
one.
void, or is that just you being supervising
Me
broker?
being the broker. And yeah, it's our buyers and the seller it's a case and a half. I tell you, I'll probably, with permission of the agent, bring that one up for discussion.
I
It's
mean,
really something. It's a mess.
you'd like to
And
think
it's the listing agent that's really messed it up.
you'd like to think somebody could, talk some sense into the seller and use that as leverage. Hey, you want to change the date, as long as the
Yeah.
buyer can accommodate, say, okay, well, what are you going to give me for that? Because otherwise, you're in the deep weeds. Like,
It was that simple that the buyer was willing to, but you need to pay me for all this extra expense. And it's real expense. I mean, when you're
yeah,
talking these mortgages are getting up to $4,000 and $5,000, 1 week of delay is $1,000 extra for that buyer now. It's not like we're talking $300 or something. And so that's part of it, plus the moving, plus now it's going to be vacant for 3 weeks, plus the buyer's out of town and I have to get a POA. The POA's from out of town. It's really a mess, and the seller just doesn't want to do it. And what it's coming down to, it seems like, is that the listing agent promised a bunch of stuff could happen after ratification. And that's what it's coming down to. And we're starting to get that uncovered. And I kind of feel for the seller, but it's like you wanted to sell. If you don't want to sell, don't put it on the market. And if you don't want to sell, if you want to change things around as a seller, get it done before you ratify. Because as we're doing this, I'm looking this through. I'm like, wow, there's not a lot of places the seller can get out. Nothing. Whereas the buyer, don't like the windows, I'm going to use the HOA. My financing, I'm out. Interest rate changed, I'm out. I'll use my home inspection. Oh, you didn't give me the HOA documents in time? I'm out. You didn't give me the disclosure form in time? I'm out. A lot of places for the buyer to get out. Seller, not so much.
hmm.
So anyway, anything else? What's happening out there? What are y'all seeing this holiday season? Are people calming down now after the federal closure? Are your buyers coming back to the table?
I don't think my buyers ever left the table.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
No,
good.
I don't think they left. They just some had issues moving here,
Mm,
that pushed them off a little bit. And
yeah,
and some people are starting to dip their toes in the water because of the mortgage rates.
yeah. Yes, Megan. Megan, you had your hand up.
Yes. Isn't there something in the beginning of the contract where if the buyer doesn't apply for their mortgage or if they don't have a formal application in, that the seller can cancel the contract?
I don't know that they can
It's like
cancel. Let me take a look at that. I got one right here
it's
I can
something
pull up.
within I think it's like within 7 days or
Yeah, they
maybe it's
have to
10 days.
apply.
Right. And if they don't, I think that the seller can void the contract. Yeah?
Yeah, let's
No?
take a look here real
Maybe?
quick.
Because there's like a notice now in NVAR that I was not using,
Yeah.
um, that I am now
Um,
using because a listing agent got on to me once about not producing it. And letting them know that we had formally had an application in.
Well, it says,
And specifically for the financing that we said we were applying
yeah,
for.
it says the buyer will make written application for financing no later than 7 days after date of ratification. That's all it says.
There's
It
no
doesn't
like
say if not,
actual.
yeah, there's no consequence.
Okay.
That's kind of a hole here.
Yeah.
Um, but it doesn't say that if you don't, then you're out. It says make it. The other one on this one is also hazard insurance. You're supposed to, yeah, no, that's another one in the same paragraph. No later than 7 days, and two, buyer grants permission for that's it. It just says you'll do it no later than 7 days. So that's all that says there. Good question.
Doesn't that only apply if the financing contingency is intact with the contract?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And that's what it says. If contingent on financing, then you'll do it within 7 days. So I guess you would have something as a seller. You may void, but you may be voiding based on I mean, you could void if someone's breaching, but usually the seller's trying to call them to the table. Um, it doesn't say that you can void, but I think maybe by inference, you didn't do this, and now we're delaying. I think what the seller would have to do instead of voiding, just wait till they're actually in default and then get out.
The other potential with that is if you don't, as a buyer, apply within 7 days, the financing contingency is lost, not as a contract voiding, which still may be
Oh, I see.
allowed, but that may create a scenario where you've lost the
Mhm.
financing contingency.
Right.
The contract doesn't say that. So, that
No.
gets into a breach of contract and yeah,
It does say that you'll do everything
right.
necessary and in good time to get things done, whatever the lender said do. And if you're not doing that, then you're in breach for
Mhm.
sure. And it's probably a little it's debatable. Are you in trouble? Can the seller void because of that? But definitely not so much voiding,
Yeah.
but holding you accountable. Now you're in default.
And the reality is on the selling side, you're not going to know that unless and until there's an issue with their financing
Right.
in some form or fashion. And if they get their financing and can close, it doesn't
Mhm.
really matter that they applied 9 days in.
Exactly.
So that's sometimes contract language is, okay, yeah, so what?
Right.
Uh,
And in around the and this is we're talking Virginia. In Maryland, there is no extension of financing. It's here's the deadline. Get it done. You can extend it, but you have a deadline. That's all you have. Get it done by the 15th. And if not, then you've lost the contingency. So that's what you have in Maryland. I didn't like that at first, but now I kind of like it. It gets the buyer motivated. Yeah. So anyway, anything else? These 16 minutes that we've been online.
I'd like to hear what are your I mean, do you have any insights of what the market's gonna look like in 2026?
Let me take a look at that market. I think, and I mean, we're seeing a lot of listings coming on board. I haven't tracked what they look like from last year at this time, but I think we've got quite number one. And if you remember May, June, and Scott backed me up on this, May, June is when those interest rates shot up. Okay. And we had this slowdown in the buyer. By January of 23, none of the buyers were saying, boy, I really missed those 3% interest rates. They didn't know about them because buyers come in around December if they're going to buy next year. And they just looked at the paper and like, oh, the interest rates are 6 and 7 3/4. And so now I think that we're kind of past this whole government shutdown issue. We're maybe past all the closures or the reduction in force. And those of you that have been in this area like me for a while, we've kind of lived this a few times. It's just that it's new for the consumer. Oh my gosh, they closed that department. They closed this department. Well, you forgot the Reagan years. I mean, the Reagan years is what birthed the Beltway Bandits. The Beltway Bandits were the Beltway contractors. And so I think since the year has gone through, I think the massive closures, I don't know about the Department of Education, that looks like it's the next thing. But I do see, unlike the other offices that they were looking at shutting down, I really do think if they shut down a lot of education jobs here, there will be jobs in those state capitals for people with their skill set. But as far as we're concerned, what does it do for us is if we lose those jobs, we still have other jobs coming into the area with nonprofits, with AI, with data center extension. And then people have just become used to. I guess what I'm talking about is the psychology of the market
Yeah.
is really not so much job growth and interest rates and inventory. It's the psychology that's going on right now. And people put off, we know they did, they put off for like 5 months because we matched the same as last year when we were supposed to be higher this year. And it didn't happen. We just matched it. And then we saw this uptick of pro homes being delisted. Um, and I think those folks are going to come back because they were telling our agents, I'm going to see what happens. And then I'm going to come back. Well, they're going to come back. That's like 500 listings we had get delisted in the last 2 months. And so I think there's a pent-up demand of buyers who wanted to do something. The interest rates dropped a bit. We're down under 6.5. I think that's the last I saw. I did see some FHA and VA coming in under 6%. That's going to make people want to move regardless of what's going on. And so I think it's a pent-up demand. I think we're going to see some multiple offers again on properties that have been fixed up. I think the buyers are going to be a little bit more picky because if you haven't updated, notice I didn't say upgraded, just updated. You don't have the 1980 green appliances and you haven't put in stainless steel. If you haven't done that, you're going to sit a while. But if you've done that, you've redone the kitchen, the bathrooms, the flooring, and you've painted, you're going to be in a much better situation to sell that house and potentially get multiples. We're already hearing of multiples coming in again, November, December. So I think it's going to be a strong market. I think sellers are not going to get a free pass on just if it's got a door, it sells. So they're going to have to clean things up and fix things up. And I think buyers are going to come out, honestly, in a vengeance. I think they are. But that's just me.
Oh, I agree with you, Anthony, because the last three
And
buyers
that's what I got out of my little mirror.
I would say
Okay.
I'd agree with you because I'd say the last three buyers that I've been working with and over the last couple of months, it's um, because of the inventory on the market, they don't have to, they don't have to uh, buy something that isn't updated, and
Right.
the prices show it too. And
Yeah.
so there's some interesting properties that have popped up down here, and I look at the price and just shake my head when you look at the inside of the house.
Yeah. The agents, all of us, when we have these listing appointments, we definitely got to be offering them the guys I use are maxhouseprice.com. They're local production contractors. They'll come in, fix everything up, and then get paid at the end. Dwellis, I think they do it as well. I think that's the name of it. They will get paid at the end once you sell. But if you fix it up, it's selling is the thing. The risk is pretty low.
Well,
But put on 25 to $100,000 on that back end that you're going to pay for, but it sells because you got four offers. I guess that's part of what my insight is. We're not looking at fixing up so I can maximize my price. We're looking at fixing up so I can sell it. That's what I'm talking about. And some of them you will get some max price return, but I think most of it is about just getting money back, just being able to sell.
Yeah, I'd say there are certainly two questions that I'm looking at. One is, buying activity in Greater Northern Virginia during the 6 weeks of the shutdown was a little bit above 24.
Yeah.
The 5 weeks post shutdown, right in line with 24. Question number one, how many buyers would have been active during the shutdown or started in late September because of higher inventory level and rates coming out about 0.5%, but put it off because of
Hmm.
the shutdown? And when the shutdown ended on December or November 12th, they said,
Yeah.
that's too close to the holidays. I'm going to wait until after the first of the year at
Yeah, we
some
saw
point.
that too. Yeah.
So that's question number one that I'm going to be looking in early January. Are we seeing any elevated buyer
Hmm.
activity numbers? The low point every year is second half of December, first half of January. The other question is as we get start, so we're going to enter 2026 with a higher level of active inventory and higher days on market than we've had for the last, certainly 23, 24, and 25, the start of
Hmm.
25. What is buyer activity going to be like? Will it be the same elongated decision cycle that we saw starting in March through
Hmm.
all of this year? Will that continue on into 26? Or will we revert back to something more like 23, 24, and the start of 25, February and early March, very, very similar to the prior 2 years in terms of not a lot of time that buyers were taking? That's the big question. I don't, and we'll find out. And I'm talking about overall market. Obviously,
Hmm.
individual areas and house types and price points will have different, um, different factors.
Yeah.
But that's the unknown because that's the difference in 2025.
Hmm.
Much higher inventory sustained at a level that we haven't seen since 2017, because not because people were buying less. Fairfax
Hmm.
County, we're going to end the year basically 50 contracts less than
Hmm.
24.
Yeah.
It's just people were taking a lot longer. How much of that was due to Doge and trade and tariffs and other uncertainty that is not going to be in play this year?
Yeah.
We will find out.
Yeah. That's the thing. Um, yeah. So, I mean, I'd be very interested when you guys get a buyer that's doing whatever they're doing. Wow, my buyer got off the dime and wrote. My buyer thinks this is going to be there for next week. My buyer think whatever, because I think the buyers are going to drive the market than anyone else. But if they see a house that suddenly, hey, we need to get an offer in because there's four other offers in, that'll get the buyers. The buyers aren't so not used to that they won't see it. They'll go like, "Oh my gosh,
Mhm.
it's back. I got to put in my escalation clause again." So, yeah, we'll see what happens.
Or the other thing that could cause is
Mhm.
buyers saying, I can't wait. I
Yeah.
can't, take 30, 40 days,
Hmm.
look at a bunch of houses, prompt
Hmm.
quicker action, which
Right.
will drive down inventory. That's the reason we have higher inventory this year. It's not an increase in number of listings. It's houses that would have been under contract within a weekend or a week or two are sitting for 30, 40, 60 days. And they're not all bad houses. It's
Right.
just buyer indecision or elongated decision cycle.
Hmm.
And we'll see.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm not down on the market. I think the question I have is we've done 16,000 roughly
Hmm.
sales the last 3 years. Is that the new normal? Or
Well,
do we get
yeah.
climb back closer to the 21,000
Hmm.
that we had average sales from 15 to 19?
Yeah.
That's a big difference. And so that's the other question about how much buying activity will we have?
Right.
Um,
That's it for sure. All right, folks. Thanks for coming out. Next week we kind of don't have